Hello, boys and girls. Guess what? We're going to be reading The Kite today, and this is in our California Journeys Grade 1, Unit 6 textbook. And this is part of our Lesson 28. So before we read this story, let's go ahead. It's called The Kite, right? So let's go ahead and look at some kids who are flying kites. They look like they're about your age, don't they? So what do we see? We see some kites. And when you have kites, you try to fly them in the sky. And you have to connect them to you with a string. So he has his string up here, and there's a little jog of string right there. And then she's dragging hers. Her kite is like right behind her. You can see the string though. And flying kites is quite tricky. It's not easy to do. And the weather has to be just right. And sometimes your kite doesn't fly right. The string might break. You might lose your kite or might get stuck up in a tree somewhere. Sometimes the kites crash when they come down and they break. What else can happen to a kite? Have you guys ever flown a kite? Like when my kids were little many years ago, they used to have kites in all the stores. But I don't see them in stores anymore. Do you? So maybe you haven't had a chance yet to fly a kite. You can make some homemade kites. But anyways, the important thing is you have to hold on tight to your string. Don't let it go out of your hand because that kite will be darting this way and that way, right? So hold on tight to your string. It can be hard to fly a kite. And so I'll bet you in this story about the kite that they're going to run into some problems. Or the story might not be as interesting. So this is the man who wrote the story. He also drew all the pictures. His name is Arnold Lobel. And he used to watch little frogs and toads when his kids were playing with them. Let's see. This story is a fantasy. Why would they say it's a fantasy? Why would they say it was make-believe? So let's look at some of the dead giveaway. The frog and the toad are dressed in clothes. Do frogs and toads wear clothes? No. And they're walking on their hind feet. And let's see, any other? Yeah, definitely frogs and toads do not fly kites either. Okay, yeah, so it's baloney. This is a fantasy. So let's go ahead and read it. I will read it to you today, and then we'll answer our questions at the end. So the kite. Frog and Toad went out to fly a kite. They went to a large meadow. What? What is a meadow, boys and girls? Oh my goodness. Use the back of this. Okay, just in case you don't know what a meadow is. Okay, it's like an opening, like a field. Like, here's some trees over here, right? So I'll put different kinds of trees over here. Okay, so this opening right here is a meadow. So they're going to go out into a meadow and fly it. That way it won't get stuck in the trees. They went to a large meadow where the wind was strong. Our kite will fly up and up, said Frog. It will fly all the way up to the top of the sky, Toad, said Frog. Oh. I will hold the ball of string. You hold the kite and run. So who's going to hold the ball of string? It looks like Frog is. And he's going to be holding the kite and running. Sort of like this girl right here. Toad ran across the meadow. So, well, if I had to show you, he'd be over here. You know, that's him, and here's his kite. He's running across the meadow with it. Maybe that's not a good picture, but better than nothing. The kite went up in the air. It fell to the ground with a bump. Toad heard laughter. Laughter's when, like the sound of people usually laughing because something's super funny. 3 robins were sitting in a bush. "That kite will not fly," said the robins. "You might as well give up." Toad ran back to Frog. "Frog," said Toad, "this kite will not fly. I give up." What? He's just saying what the robins told him? "We must make a second try," said Frog. "Wave the kite over your head. Perhaps that will make it fly." So now he's going to wave it over his head. She's sort of waving it over her head, right? Her too. Maybe that will help. Toad ran back across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. The kite went up in the air and then fell down with a thud. "What a joke," said the robins. "That kite will never get off the ground." And he's listening to them. Toad ran back to Frog. "This kite is a joke," he said. "It will never get off the ground." He keeps on listening to those robins. "We have to make a third try," said Frog. "Wave the kite over your head and jump up and down. Perhaps that will make it fly." So he's going to run with it over his head, and this time he's going to jump up and down. Toad ran across the meadow again. He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. The kite went up in the air and crashed down into the grass. "That kite is junk," said the robins. Junk is like no one would want it. Like an old nothing. You just want to give away, or throw away. "Okay, that kite is junk," said the robins. "Throw it away and go home." Toad ran back to Frog. What do you think he's going to say? He repeats whatever they say. Let's see what he says. "This kite is junk," he said. "I think we should throw it away and go home." I don't think he should be listening to them. "Toad," said Frog, "we need one more try. Wave the kite over your head, jump up and down, and shout, 'Up, kite, up!'" Toad ran across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. He shouted, "Up, kite, up!" Look, it went up. And he silenced them. When he was trying, they were being mean, weren't they? They kept saying mean things about his kite. They are not nice. But anyway, look. It's flying now. The kite flew into the air. It climbed higher and higher. "We did it!" cried Toad. "Yes," said Frog. "If a running try did not work, a running and waving try did not work, a running, waving, and jumping try did not work, I knew that a running, waving, jumping, and shouting try just had to work." The robins flew out of the bush, but they could not fly as high as the kite. Look at them. They're down here. The kite's way up there. Frog and Toad sat and watched their kite. It seemed to be flying way up at the top of the sky. And that's that. Let's go ahead and do our questions. It asks, how do the robins act toward Frog and Toad? Oh, the robins. How do they act? They're like mocking and scorning. Back here they were laughing. They were mean, weren't they? They are not nice. Do you guys think that Toad should listen to the robins when they try to get him to stop trying? No. The robins didn't know if that kite was going to fly or not. They shouldn't have been so mean. Okay. So, Frog, let's see. What do Frog and Toad do to try to get the kite to fly? So Frog and Toad, what do they do to try to get oh, here, I think he summarized it over here. Um, they ran. Well, Toad ran. It didn't work. He ran and he waved it over his head. That didn't work. He ran and he waved it over his head and he jumped. That didn't work. And the last time he ran with it, he waved it over his head, he jumped, and he shouted, remember, up, kite, up. So that's how they got the kite to fly, or at least Toad did, following Frog's advice. So what really makes the kite fly at the end? Let's see. I think that's what the question was. What really makes the kite fly? Boys and girls, really, let me just tell you, you have to put effort into it. What really makes it fly, you keep at it. You keep on trying. It might not go up the first time or second or third, like in this story, but you keep on trying. You run with it. You wave it over your head. Sometimes you jump a little bit. Actually, the yelling doesn't help at all. But and just keep at it. Just the effort is what made that kite fly, and the weather does help. You know, you have to have a little bit of wind to keep it up there. Okay, boys and girls, that's all we have for our first read of The Kite. Bye-bye.